Hey, it's Darnell with the Grill. I've got myself a full brisket here. It's about 9.25 pounds of beef brisket there. And so I found a recipe in the Mountain Grills recipe book called a Kansas City brisket that I wanted to give a try. So I'm going to give that a try on this brisket here. So I'm going to be cooking this obviously on the Mountain Grills Daniel Boone Pellet Smoker using the premium Texas blend of pellets, and that's a blend of white oak, hickory, and they say a slosh of mesquite for a consistent smoke. So I'm going to smoke this particular brisket up pretty good using their Kansas City brisket recipe, see how it compares to other briskets I've done. And so I'm going to get this out the pack, and then I'll show you how I'm going to trim it and such and start preparing it. Alright, so I've got the brisket out of the cryo bag, dried it off good. And so basically to start a Kansas City brisket using this Kansas City brisket recipe from the recipe guide, you're supposed to trim the fat cap to 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to trim some of this topside fat and silver skin, and I will be trimming the fat cap down to 1/4 inch. But I wanted to show you something interesting on this fat cap side. For this brisket, as you can see, it came with some of the fat cap missing there, a hole in the fat cap, which is interesting. So after you trim the fat cap to 1/4 inch, you're supposed to slice it in horizontal and vertical like waffle on that fat cap side, and then rub the beef rub into all sides of the brisket so that it gets in there real good, and then let it set overnight. I'm going to be using my the remainder of this Grill Mates Texas Smokehouse beef rub to rub the brisket. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my trimming now. Alright, so we got that brisket nice and trimmed up. Got that rub all rubbed in real good. Scoring it in the fat the way that it was scored is supposed to help that smoke and that rub get in there real good. So at this point, just gonna wrap it up, put it in the fridge, let it set overnight. Bring you back in the early morning, Lord willing, and we'll get started smoking this thing. Okay, so it's the next morning, and this brisket has been in the refrigerator overnight. Now it's been here on the counter, getting up to room temp for over an hour. I'm going to go on out and get the grill started up, and then we'll get to smoking this brisket. Okay, so just to show you the setup that I'm working with the Mountain Grills Daniel Boone Pellet Smoker, and to remind you, this recipe will also work with other types of pellet smokers like Traeger, Rectech, Gorilla Grills, and so on. So basically inside I've got my I've got the type of Green Mountain Grill Daniel Boone that has the sliders for the smoking option. and so I've got those holes underneath this liner closed since I'm going to be smoking. Some of you don't have that option, but that's okay. But I do have the drip pan liner in my grill. I do want to say, if you don't have that slider option, if you don't have it in your grill, then don't worry about it. I don't think it's something that they sell as an upgrade. It's just something that some of the Green Mountain grills had, and then they stopped doing it, from what I've been told by people who have some of the Green Mountain Grill Daniel Boones that were purchased more recently. So yeah, I've got the liner in there, and so I'm going to go ahead and, when I put the brisket out, put it out there, and I'm going to close it up now. Looks like there's a little spider or something up there on my hood, but he'll be taken care of in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and start the grill up, and when I start the grill up here, I'm going to be starting the smoke at 165 degrees. So I'm already connected to my grill, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit a set. Well, actually, I didn't think I was connected yet. Actually, I need to connect and start the grill. So I was connected, but I'm reconnecting to the grill, and then I got to start it. So power grill on, and so there we go. Grill's powering on. So now I need to set my temp to 165 degrees and confirm. And so now it's going to set to 165 degrees. After it's set to 165 degrees and I put the brisket on, then I'll start a profile that I've set up here, Kansas City brisket profile. And I'm just going to run you through the steps of that profile right now. I'm going to start, like I said, 165 degrees, 4 hours with the fat side up, spraying with apple juice every hour. Step 2 is just to turn it fat side down and then continue to smoke it fat side down for 2 hours. Step 4 is to turn it fat side up and insert the meat probe, and then let it continue to cook fat side up until the internal temperature is 165 degrees, and I'll be smoking it during that time at 185 degrees. Then step 6, still at 185 degrees, I'm going to wrap it in foil and pour in a half cup of apple juice. And right after that, I'm going to let the temp go up to 225 while it's wrapped up like that, and let it stay wrapped up in that apple juice and foil at 225 until the temperature of the meat reaches 198. So basically going to be invoking that Texas cheat or Texas crutch when the meat is at 165 degrees, and then the temperature will bump up to 225 and let it cook until it's 198. So this starts the Texas crutch in the earlier stages of the meat cooking process. And after that, then later on, I'll put it into a cooler with some towels for about an hour and a half. That's how this Kansas City brisket recipe goes. And I will mention, for the present version of the Green Mountain Grills app, there's a small bug in the profiles. You can only do a profile with about 7 steps. If you do a profile with an 8th step, you'll find that any instruction you put in the 8th step will be copied to the 1st step. And then any instruction you try and overwrite in the 1st step while you still have an 8th step will get overwritten in the 8th step. It's kind of quirky, but I'd say stick to no more than 7 steps until the Green Mountain Grills app gets an update. I'm going to see if I can find the current app version in here. Well, I'll have to go into my app info. Current version of the app is 238. So once they get up from 238, they're supposed to fix it. I've already told Green Mountain Grill support about that issue with the profiles and having a problem with that. So I'm going to go ahead and let the grill warm up. And so the next scene you will see will be me putting the brisket onto the grill. You can see now the grill is starting to smoke. Pellets are starting to get heated up. Things are starting to warm up in there. It's starting to go up a little bit in temp. So I'll bring you back when it's time to start smoking on this brisket. Okay, so the grill has reached the target temp of 165 degrees for smoking. I'm going to go ahead and put the brisket on, fat side up, so I got to put it in and flip it basically. There we go. Our brisket's in there, fat side up now. So I'm going to go ahead and let's get this closed up. I'll get my gloves off and then I'll start the weather report with you in a moment. Alright, now that I got my gloves off, let me select the grill profile. So I go into my profiles, Kansas City Brisket, start profile, confirm. Now it's sending that profile to the grill. Send fail, and I will start profile. Let's try again. Alright, I'm going to disconnect from the grill. So just remove a step and see if it works better like this. So now it's got just 6 steps. Let's see if I can start it now. And it started. So it seems like we got a couple problems going on with the app. Not only is there a problem when you have 8 steps because the first step gets overwritten. If you have 7 steps, I couldn't even send my profile when I had just 7 steps. So I had to basically reduce it to 6 steps just to get my profile to send to the grill. So stick to profiles with no more than 6 steps until they upgrade the app from the current version. So just going to run through the 6 steps that I have now. We're doing presently the 4-hour smoke with the fat side up. I'm going to spray with the apple juice every hour at 165 degrees. Then I'm going to have to get out of here, flip it over, the fat side down, continue to smoke for 2 hours. And then I'm going to turn it fat side up, insert the meat probe, and let it continue to cook until I'm going to up the temperature then to 185 degrees, and let it cook till the meat hits 165 degrees. And I just kind of got a 10-minute time to flip it there before I up the temperature. And then I'm going to just do a 10-minute gap to kind of wrap it in foil and add a half cup of apple juice, and then cook it at 225 until the meat reaches 198 degrees or so. And so that's our profile for today. I'm going to go ahead and get into the weather report now. So let's see what our weather is. Our weather report today at the moment is mostly sunny, 67 degrees, real feel 72 degrees, humidity 77%. The wind speed is calm, doesn't even give a speed, it just says calm, so I guess that's like 0, and it is pretty calm. UV index is low, so I guess I don't have to worry about too much sun issue, at the moment at least. But there is an air quality alert because it's going to get pretty hot. So it'll be plenty of sunshine today. It'll be getting up to 93 in the middle of the day. It's like 7 a.m. right now. So, this is going to be cooking probably all day. So it'll be getting up into the 93 degree range when it's in the hotter part of the day. So going to just let this go ahead and keep going. Glad I finally got that profile working at least. I guess I'll have to also tell the Green Mountain Grill folks about the 7-step profile problem. But I'll bring you back. I'm just going to do the hourly thing. I don't think you need to see me just come and spritz a brisket every hour for the next 4 hours, but I'll bring you back when it's time to flip it from the fat side up to fat side down. Alright, it's been about 4 hours. Time to flip that brisket over so that it's fat side down now. So it's looking pretty good in there. Flip it over. That looks wonderful. Gonna close it up. It goes 2 hours like this. And then we'll go on to the next step. So I'll bring you back. Okay, so it's time to flip this over so it's fat side up again and put the meat probe in there. So I'm gonna open it up. After I do this, the temp's gonna go up to 185 degrees. I'm gonna be cooking it till the meat temp is 165. It looks good there. Flip it. Put the meat probe in the fattest part of the meat. Alright, close that up like that. And once that meat temp gets up to 165 degrees, I'll bring you back. The grill temp is going to kick itself up to 185 in a moment. So, see you in a moment. Okay, so I wanted to just show you real quick on my screen the food temp. Now that I got that meat probe in there, is at 140 degrees. So it's got about 25 degrees to go to get to 165. And about 3 minutes, the grill's going to kick itself up to 185. So it'll probably be some hours before it reaches that 165 meat temp mark. But I'll bring you back when it does. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours, and according to the recipe, it was supposed to, within about 4 hours, get up to that 165 mark. But after a couple of hours, I can see that it's only reached like 146 degrees. Absolutely no way it's going to come close to 165 in another 2 hours. So I'm going to hit this with a little apple juice just to have a look and moisten it up a little bit. And I'm going to basically hack this a little bit and just bump the temp up more than the recommended amount for a recipe, because it's just going to take too very long at the present rate. So I'm going to try and bump the temperature up to 200 degrees and hope that doesn't mess up my profile too much. So I've just upped the temperature to 200 degrees, and it's, I guess, tripped over into manual mode because the profile can't run like that. Okay, so just a couple of things. First, I wanted to mention I've been using the wrong name for the recipe, slightly arid name I've been using. I'm calling it a Kansas City brisket. It's actually a Kansas-Style Beef Brisket. That's the actual proper name of the recipe, is Kansas-Style Beef Brisket, or Kansas-Style Brisket. So I just wanted to make sure I correct that. I've set up a new profile for just the second half of this cook, and so I'm just going to talk you through the adjustments that I'm making. I've got this new one that I made, Kansas-Style Brisket Custom Second Half. And basically it's already rolling at 200 degrees, so I'm just going to keep it rolling at the 200 degrees until the temp and the meat reaches 165 degrees and the fat side is up already. And then I'm going to wrap it in foil. I'm just giving myself 10 minutes in step 2 to wrap it in foil. And I'm going to add a full cup of apple juice, not a half a cup as recommended in the recipe, because I'm feeling it's going to need more than a half cup. And then I'm going to up the temp to 225 and cook it until the meat reaches the 195 degree mark. And so I'm going to go ahead and start that profile now. I'll also mention that the recipe mentions to spritz with apple juice and a mixture of some Worcestershire sauce and apple juice. I just use straight apple juice myself. So my new customized profile is in effect now. So I'll just let this continue, bring you back once the meat temperature reaches 165 to get things wrapped up and put a cup of apple juice in it. Okay, so the temperature for the meat reached 165, and then it somehow jumped down to 160 on the meat probe, but the profile has moved on, and I'm going to move on. I'm making one further adjustment that you probably see in the profile that I made a change to. Instead of cooking it at 225 while it's wrapped up, since it's been going slow, I'm going to bump that up and cook it at 250 while it's wrapped up to get this thing moving along, because it's going much slower than it should for this recipe, maybe just due to the size of my brisket. Get this wrapped up now. That should work out okay. We'll just let that cook on out till it gets to 195, and then we'll bring it on in, set it in a cooler with a towel for about 90 minutes. Okay, so 14 and a half hours later, it hits the 195 degree mark, and it's time to get it off. So I'm going to go ahead and get it out of here, get it in the cooler, and I'll bring you back in about 90 minutes after it's been in the cooler for 90 minutes. Okay, so here's our brisket fresh out of the cooler after 90 minutes. So 90 minutes in the cooler plus 14 and a half hours of cooking time makes for a total cook time of 16 hours. It looks good to me. I'm just going to cut right down here. Super moist like butter. See if I can give you a peek at the smoke ring. I'm just going to lift this pan up, give you a good close look at the smoke ring. So you can see that good there. I'm just going to cut a piece off of here for our official taste test. Slice that out there like that. Just going to put that on my plate here. Just slice it like that there. Like that there. Alright. That thing's sufficiently cut up here, so gonna get that camera adjusted and we'll do our taste test. Alright, here's our brisket. Before I taste test, I will say that I'll put my modified version of the recipe in the, it'll be accessible from the video description. So let's do our taste test now. I'm going to try some more. And there's a reason why, I'll tell you in a moment. That was a piece of fat there. I'm just going to bite into a little of this one. What I'm surprised by here is that the GMG Texas grilling blend didn't really seem to impart a deep smoke flavor like I was hoping for on this brisket. And I think that, you know, maybe keeping it fat side up too long also may have contributed to that. Even though I trimmed the fat side down, you know, maybe having that fat side up so much in this cook, you know, then having to wrap it up maybe prevented some more of the deepness of the smoke flavor. But I think that, you know, when I've used like Traeger Hickory, I mean, just being frankly honest, using like Traeger Hickory, I get a much greater impartation of smoke than I do from the GMG Texas blend for this brisket here. So I was just kind of tasting, trying to see, let me see if I can better get the smoke. But I will say it's just not as strong. It's just the way it is from my observation of the taste. It is very moist. It's definitely moist. It's definitely a good brisket. I do believe anyone that you serve it to will find it to be a very good brisket. It's a good recipe. Although I do feel that it, you know, for a larger brisket like a 10-pounder, you probably want to adjust the temperatures and such as I did in my demonstration of it here. But it's a good one. I do think with doing briskets though, I'm probably going to stick to the Traeger Hickory Pellets, quite honestly, for my briskets. I was hoping maybe I'd do some more briskets with the GMG Texas blend, but I'm just, it did well with steaks. Did well with steak, and it's done well with other red meats that I've cooked. But it just didn't give the impartation of flavor that I was hoping for on a brisket. So it may just be that it's not the best for briskets, but it's good for other beefs. So I also think that the GMG Gold blend is a little too mild for what I like in a brisket. And of course the fruit blend's a little too mild. So I'll just stick to the Hickory, as I said, and the Traeger brand of pellets. But anyway, you know, you can do what you prefer yourself. You can definitely leave comments, give your thoughts on what you think about the brisket, the pellets, and all that good stuff. You can definitely check out dgrillsmoke.com, patreon.com/dgrill. You can support the channel there. Also on Twitter at dgrillsmoke. And so I do hope that you liked this video, and if you did, you can give it a thumbs up. You can share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and good eating.